card number 1 for June Stampin'. How pretty is this? We're using Bermuda Bay, a new DSP with a wood print, and then we're going to use the Field of Flowers stamp set. You definitely want this stamp set on your short list. All right, on our card base is 5.5 by 4 1/4. Okay, top folding. The wood print DSP is cut to 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, and then your Whisper White piece here is cut to 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. And after we're done stamping, we'll just slightly tear this edge just to add some interest. So this one will be fun. Let's get started. Okay, the first thing you'll need is your piece of 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. I found with this stamp set, if you're stamping 1, you might as well stamp 2. So we will use the large greenery stamp and our Granny Apple ink pad. Squeeze that at the top as hard as you can and then open it like a compact. Okay, let me put this where I'm not going to stick my fingers in it because, well, I will. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is stamp our greenery down here on the bottom. So let's go ahead and load up our stamp with the Granny Apple. Okay, we want to stamp this greenery stamp down along the bottom edge of our Whisper White panel. But there's a ledge here on the stamp. So you can't line the edge of the stamp up with the edge of the paper. You have to come down a little bit. So you'll be stamping off a little bit, and that's fine. And oops, I forgot to tell you one little trick. Because this is a photopolymer stamp, I've just been stamping on a box lid, mostly because I was too lazy to go downstairs and get my foam mat. But used a box lid, it gives a perfect amount of cushion for our stamp. So like I said, you have to make sure the edge of the stamp is over the edge of the paper. So you definitely need something to stamp on because we do a lot of stamping off the edge with this one. Okay, so go ahead and stamp that down. Okay, load it up again. Go ahead and stamp this one off the edge here, don't forget. Okay, and then we need to just do this part we missed, this stamp. Oops, it's pretty, it matches up pretty well. It's hard to mess this stamp up. Those are the stamps I like. Okay, now I've got some mess all over my ink block here. Okay, now this is fine, but it's kind of, it could be more interesting. So let's go ahead and re-ink our stamp, but this time we're gonna stamp off. This time we're gonna stamp off. Stamp off once. Now I'm going to stamp again, and now I don't have to pay so much attention to the edge because I've already filled my edge in. So now I'm just going to stamp this again and again. Okay, so now I've got some interest going here. Okay, this is how we cover up our stamping boo-boos too, by the way. Just add more ink. Okay, load up my stamp, stamp off, stamp off, stamp again. Okay, and let me just do that a couple times. Load up my stamp, stamp off. I can go a little bit higher if I want. I can go a little bit lower. Let me get some just a little bit higher here. So I'm going to stamp off twice that time. I'm gonna come up a little higher. Look at that. Okay, stamp off twice, come up a little higher. All right, now we've got interesting greenery going on here. Okay, so that will be it for the Granny Apple Green. So let me push this out of the way. Let me try to close this, pull it back, and make sure you close these all the way. Okay. Let's add some flowers. So for this one, disregard my blocks. I've got to clean them before club. Bear with me. This one we're going to use Melon Mambo. We are stamping off. We are stamping off. So this time I've got the little field flowers. By the way, there's a punch that coordinates with this. Totally worth it. Okay, so let me stamp off here. Okay, now I'm going to stamp my flowers and just repeat the process. Normally, when we stamp flowers, our tendency is, oops, didn't stamp off on that one, I got caught. Normally, when we stamp our flowers, our tendency is to stamp the flower head at the top of the greenery. But in this case, because we're talking about a field of flowers, we want to keep those flowers down low inside the greenery. Now that doesn't mean that we don't want to add a few on the top. So now I'm going to stamp off twice and let me add a few a little higher up. Oops. Oh, look at that. I didn't really, just kind of there. Okay, that's good enough. Which is another reason why you're doing two. If you don't like one, you can just use the other. Okay. And then I'm just stamping off a little bit. Okay. Stamping off. Probably have too many flowers on this one, but that's okay. Can you ever have too many flowers? I don't know. I'm definitely liking this one better, but that's okay. Okay, so I think we're good with those flowers. So let me get this out of the way. Okay, next, so so far we've used Granny Apple Green, we've used Melon Mambo, we've stamped off on the Melon Mambo, so we're getting a dialed back shade. Now there's a cute little dragonfly stamp in this set, so we're going to use this one next right here. Oh, this set is so cute. Okay, so here's the thing with this little dragonfly. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. And I'm gonna tell you right now what you're gonna wanna do. You're gonna wanna stamp him like all over this card, okay? But what you wanna do is you really only wanna stamp this dragonfly 2 or 3 times. Oops, I haven't put the dragonfly on that one. 2 or 3 times and then call it good. So because we're using a slightly more narrow block here, you've got to make sure that you are stamping the whole dragonfly. So you definitely want to practice to get the feel of this stamp, to make sure you stamp the whole dragonfly. And I'll tell you what, just get all that creativity, just work it all out on your scrap sheet, okay? Work it out. Look at that. Look how pretty that is. Okay? So once you get all that worked out on your scrap, then you can come up to your card. And remember, don't do it more than 2 or 3 times. You can even double stamp a little bit if you want. Oh my gosh, look at that. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna live dangerously. Where should I put this one? I'm gonna put it right here. This card definitely has more going on. This one's more serene. This one's more chaotic. That's okay. Okay. Just put maybe a little one. No, I'll put a little one right here. Okay, no more. Stop. Okay. All right, and that's it for a dragonfly. Okay, don't forget, stamp them on the scrap. Get all that out of your system. He's so cute, you want to stamp him 100 times. Okay, last we need a, or not last, but next we need a sentiment. So to get a little pop of color going on here, we've got these beautiful meadow colors. Granny Apple and Melon Mamba that I mentioned before, Dragonfly and Gorgeous Grape. So let's color pop a little bit and add Bermuda Bay. How fabulous is that? Okay, we're gonna take our Always sentiment here, and all we're gonna do is stamp it here. Let me stamp it once on my scrap just to make sure oh yeah, it's perfect. Okay. Just make sure I get that on me. Okay, so I'm just going to stamp that here. You can do it over to the left a little bit. Sorry if my head's getting in the way. Because we are going to tear down this one side just a hair. Okay. Wow. Perfect stamping. Okay. Okay, so now we have our 2 cards. Look at that, our 2 panels. How fabulous is that? Gosh, I want to go and add more dragonflies here so bad, but I'm not going to. I'm going to listen to my own advice. Okay, so now we need to, let's choose this one. I love this one. It's just a little more chaotic. So I'll save that one for another card, and I'm going to use this one today. Although, when I tear down here, I have to be careful of my butterfly. Okay, here's my card base. Okay, I've just taken this as just 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I've just cut it in half, scored it down the middle. Everyone always tells you to score first and cut second. I never do that. I always cut first and score second just to make sure I'm getting, helps me get cards that aren't off here on the edges. I can't take that, so there we go. And I need my wood grain piece. Where have you gone? I'll use this one. I don't even remember the name of this wood paper. It's gorgeous. It's in the new catalog. It's a whole pack of textured backgrounds. It is delightful. Okay, I've cut this just a squeak inside, I guess about 1/16 of an inch. Where's my glue stick? Inside, okay. Okay, let me glue stick this down. Okay. Just put that down on here. Always kind of eyeball your first panel with your card. Make sure you know about how much edge you need to give yourself. It'll help you when you actually lay the paper down. Okay, now to get this one here, tear this forward. Let's just add a little interest because nothing we've done here has been real super rigid. We're trying to get a loose kind of wildflower feeling going. So let's just tear down the edge here. Oh, such a beautiful wildflower I just cut off there. Okay, now I don't really like these pointy pieces, so I cut those off too. Had to be careful around that dragonfly. I didn't want to cut him off. You always want to pull forward because you want this torn edge to show. If you want to, you could ink that too, but I don't know know what color to ink that in that would make it look right. We've got so much color going on here. Okay, and let's add some string to that also. I hope my scissors are somewhere close by. I'm just gonna grab crochet thread. It's the easiest. Okay, let me wrap this around. Okay. I'm just gonna do a simple bow. Where's the end of my, yikes. Find the, oh, there it is. Whew, I was like, where is the end? Okay. Oh, white, couldn't see anything. I'm gonna pull this through and try to get these about equal. These, so they're about the same, although they're not super far off. Okay, do I have a bone folder? Yes, I do. I have an old one. It'll work. Probably want to tape that down on the back. I would just take a piece of tape and tape it across the back. I'm going to hold this right on the knot. And just curl that a little bit. Hold it down on the knot, that way you'll pull that whole thing apart. There we go. So sweet. Okay, and hopefully I brought dimensionals somewhere. What did I do with them? Oh, here they are. Okay. I feel like I need something else. Oh, I've got some double stick tape. I'll just use this. I just got some of this double stick. I don't even know why it's not on my table. Who knows? Just put some tape like that just to hold that ribbon in place. Okay, and then if you have foam strip tape, that works good too. Use your dimensionals, y'all. Don't ever risk your card falling apart because you were trying to use a half a dimensional. Right here. Okay. I know these are such a pain. That's why I like the strip tape too. It just lay out a strip and cut it. Pop these off. Yikes. Pulled off the adhesive on that one. I think there's still some adhesive on that one. Sometimes when you pull these white papers up, you pull up the adhesive. So you have to be careful. That one I pulled up the adhesive. No sticky on that one. Just happens. But you know what? There's an easy fix for that. Woo! Now everything's adhesive. Okay. Wowza. Look at that. And then in this set, there's some little phrases like this that are easy as small. Just take some of your scrap strips and you can just stamp the phrase on there, and then you can personalize the card. So you can say, always thinking of you, always a celebration, always believe, always love, anything you want. Okay, where's our sample? All right, there we go. Card number 1. Have a great Monday.